Hey, what's up, people? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Desmond Z. If it's the first time you've ever seen me in this video, I'm here to talk about 4 books. 3 of them were great, superb, top tier, amazing, surprised me, hits, knocked it right out of the park, and 1 pissed me off to no end. Let's just get right into it. We're going to start with my good sister. What is this book? Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. This book, I had high hopes for this book, and it did not disappoint. It did not disappoint me. The gist of this book is we have Sally Mills, our main character. She is the writer of a weekly sketch comedy show. Think Saturday Night Live. It literally is this world's version of Saturday Night Live. It's called The Night Owls. We get a look into that world. That's where the comedy comes in. That's supposed to be the comedy in romantic comedy. Okay, we get a look into that world, the whole, the writer's room and the ins and the outs of that, and we get to know our main character Sally, how she became, how she got here, what started her career. The romance, the romance comes when our weekly guest host and performer is this guy named Noah Brewster. He's like an aging pop star. He's been around for like 15 years. So he's invited into the writer's room and gets to come up with ideas, sketch ideas, or, say yay or nay to something he is willing to do or not do or whatever. And they get to know each other, and that's where the romance part comes in it, okay? The first part of this book is divided up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, it's divided up into 3 parts, and the first part, it was too much telling and not enough showing. It was show and tell, but we wasn't showing enough. We wasn't showing enough. Like, this is how we do this in the writer's room, and this is how we do that in the writer's room, and then we will do this, and then we will do that. Like, just show us. Like, can we get, like, just let's get that in action. Let's get some dialogue between you and other characters. Like, there was some of that in the first part. Like, I can't sit there and say there was none of that. There definitely was, but I feel like there was way more telling. I was just like, okay, I get it. And I know what I signed up for. I know the synopsis literally tells me, she is a writer for a late night live comedy show, and, we get the ins and outs of that. But it's just the way, the structure of how we were, showing that world. I wish we could have showed a little bit more. Then, it completely turned around for me. And I was just like, wow. Now, I will say, I feel like this will not be everyone's cup of tea when it comes to the comedy aspect of it. Because even for me, I was like, this is not really 100% my brand of humor. Like, there's some things that I laughed at, but it was I was just like, I ain't LOL'd yet. Just a few chuckles. Her and Noah, they had like a little disagreement at the end of their week together, where, well, I won't say disagreement, it was a misunderstanding at the end of their week together, preparing for the show. Fast forward to 2 years later, because what year did we start off in this book? Is it 2000? It's 2018, right? Yeah, okay, yeah. We start off April 2018. So, fast forward 2 years later, we already know. 2020. We do go into 2020, and we're covering the COVID period, and it's been 2 years since, what's her name, Sally and Noah have spoken, and so one of them reaches out and like, hey, I know we ain't seen each other in 2 years, but we kind of left things on a sour note, just reaching out, seeing how you're doing during these trying times. So the entire second part 2 of the book, well, most of the second part of this book is them corresponding back and forth through email. And I ate it up. I was hanging on every single word, and I didn't even realize it. You ever just be like watching a movie or something and you realize, damn, I haven't heard nothing going on around me. I just been zoned in. Or reading a book and you realize it's fucking 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm sitting on page 192 and I don't plan on stopping no time soon. That's how it was. I was eating it up and I didn't want it to end, and I was like so surprised. It did it for me. It did it for me, for I, for thy. It did. It did. After it was all said and done, I gave this book 4.5 stars. I thought it was an amazing read. There were some things I was just kind of like, but I mean, that's what almost every book, like I say. The Fitful Sleep of Immigrants. This was one of the books that was on that 2023, anticipated reads list. That I was actually supposed to. Somebody reached out to me and like was, hey, saw your video, said you wanted to watch this. Said you wanted to read this. Would you like, a complimentary review copy? So I was like, yeah, girl, hook me up. Send me the copy. I never got it because there was some issues with they sent it to me, it got returned. So she said she was sending it back. I still haven't got it. So I don't know what happened. Not her fault at all. I don't believe it was I think she was a publicist. Yeah, she's a publicist. Shout out to her. I was just like, oh, I want to read this and I don't really feel like waiting anymore. So I got the audiobook. It's the late 90s, San Francisco. Mark Mendez and his boyfriend Isaac Perez. Yeah. The beginning of this book, it wasn't bad. I felt like we had 3 different introductions in this book. Like there was 3 beginnings in this book. We meet Mark and he gets assigned this case with this man who is accused of murder. Yeah. And we go through that whole process of him dealing with that client. And then it's like a fresh new start when we get introduced to him and his life with Isaac. Because it didn't feel like, oh, this is a new chapter. It literally felt like the beginning of another novel, kind of, to me. And I was like, wait, what's happening? I was a bit confused. I didn't know, because I was like, I thought the storyline was going this way, but now we're going this way. And then I remember what the synopsis said. So I feel like now we're matching the synopsis, but then what was all that about? But then later on it all connects and it makes sense. But I was just like, that's a very weird way of starting this off. Mark gets a client by the name of, what is that man's name? Alejandro Silva is the client that Mark gets assigned. And all of a sudden now, his boyfriend Isaac is being threatened with deportation. Like, hey, you're illegal citizen here. You're not supposed to be here. You gotta go back to El Salvador, where you're from. And Mark is like, no, I don't want my man to leave. I gotta fight for him. Even though Mark is not an immigration lawyer, he's like, hey, the man I thought was gonna help you out, he a low down. Like, we can't trust him, so I'm gonna do it myself, and I'm gonna fight for you to stay in this country because you're my baby, you're my love, and I want you. I just need you here with me. So that's what starts it off, right? With the whole, immigration thing. That then takes a back burner, and we still deal with that. We get, little pieces of that, but we push that to the side, and it turns into a whole fatal attraction thing with this Alejandro man basically stalking Mark, trying to ruin his life. Like, no, you need to be with me, but also I'm not gay, but I still want you. It was crazy. And Mark was just like, there were plenty of times where I was like, Mark, you could have been dead at this whole situation. Dead it. You could have been whooped this man's ass, got him up out of him. What is going on? What kind of lawyer are you? What kind of lawyer are you? You got this man ruining your life. He's gonna be burning bunnies, boiling bunnies in your kitchen in a minute. I enjoyed it overall. 3.5 stars. Good read. Oh my God. A good read. I would advise, I would recommend it. If you ask me, should I read this? I would definitely say yes. Did you hear about Kitty Carr? Did you hear about Miss Kitty Carr? This book was such a surprise. Such a surprise. While the foundation that this story is set on is not new, think Passing, The Vanishing Half, a little bit of Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, it does carve its own path. We have Kitty Carr, who's a white actress, and she is like 70, 80 years old. She dies and leaves her hundreds of millions of dollars to these 3 sisters who are black. Their entire family is filled with like actresses and other people who've, been in the business for a while themselves. The whole entertainment world wants to know, like, what's going on, what's happening. We know, she was close with them and worked with them or whatever, but why she leave all her money to them? To get the history on that, we have to go back in time. We find out Kitty Carr, this is not a spoiler, it literally is the foundation of the book. Kitty Carr is a white actress passing as black. So We get her entire history. No, bitch, what? She is a black actress. What did I just say? She is a black woman passing as white. Yeah. And we all know what passing is at this point. If you do not know, then back then, due to the horrible circumstances and the brutality and oppression, which is still going on today, but it was even worse back then, we had a lot of black people who would, you know, say goodbye to their old life and then go move, live somewhere else, and live their lives as white people to escape, you know, their circumstances. That's what Kitty Carr does. She moves to LA and, you know, with a friend who is also passing as white, and she gets, you know, thrown into the world of Hollywood. This, I thought, was just gonna be, oh, black woman passes as white and she goes through Hollywood and we get that type of tale. What I did not expect for this book to do was take a turn and show how people who were passing as white would use that privilege to still fight for like the freedom and like equal rights for black people, and talk to their white husbands and white friends and colleagues and get them to, you know, open their eyes more. Like, I really enjoyed that aspect of the book, and I did not see that coming. Her relationship with the love interest in this book, it showed how he was somewhat, you know, sympathetic to the plight of black people and what they were going through, but he wasn't trying to get up off his ass and do nothing about it. It was like, well, what can I do? I'm just one person. Or he refused to use his power that he did have with him being this huge influential person in his business, but was like, oh, I can't do nothing, or he's too afraid to, you know, step on any toes for the sake of maybe not being liked by a few people while people are literally dying. Okay, so it shows how, you know, people can talk a big game, but like they refuse to actually do anything. The downfall of this book was the present day storyline. The St. John sisters, they never felt like real people to me. I didn't know who was who. It was like they were all just one character with different names. I was like, I can't distinguish one from the other because none of these people are fleshed out enough. Like, we don't spend enough time with them. I mean, no shade, but thank God, because we could have threw them in at the end and maybe in the epilogue and was like, okay, and this is what happens to them and this is who this was, something like that. That's what it really felt like. That's what it felt like. Like, the entire present day storyline felt like a fragmented epilogue. It was like, and this is what happened years later with the sisters and Kitty, but it was like we was getting it in pieces. And I was just, save me from this, please. Put me back in the past. I never thought I'd be trying to go back in time. Never thought I would, but I was. Overall, great book. Did not like that present day storyline, but and this was another one where I was hanging on every single word, and I was just like, didn't even realize. I was just like, my God, eating it up. Amazing. The American Mermaid. I told y'all I was gonna read this. I was very excited about it. I was not entertained. With this book. American Mermaid is about an English teacher named Penelope. Penelope is a broke English teacher. She writes a book. Hollywood comes sniffing around, gets wind of it. They want to turn it into a whole low action movie. They want to change the script, do this, do that, do this. And then, oh, I now think my book is coming alive. My main character, the mermaid, is she helping me out by actually like helping me fight against these Hollywood bigwigs trying to change my story? That's the synopsis. That's what it says in the book. First of all, let me just tell you this. There's like 65 chapters in this book. The whole mermaid helping me out thing only happens like 3 times. Like 3 or 4 instances of where it's like, oh, the mermaid, I think this mermaid may be actually helping me change this story. And we don't get the second, I don't remember when we got the first one, but I know we don't get the second one until chapter 33. And both the first and the second one are very small instances. It's like, girl, you act like she was finna jump out the damn book and start swinging her tail and beating ass from the synopsis. Like, that's not even, like, that's, you lied to me. You lied. You're a liar. You're a liar and you lie. Is what you do. It's also supposed to be funny. It's not funny. I didn't laugh. I didn't ha-ha. I didn't even through my nose. Like, there was none of that. None of it. That I won't fault the author for and say, oh, you're not funny, because it could just be this was not my brand of humor. The main character is very snarky and sarcastic, and there are a lot of little, you know, little attempts at being funny for me, because it's not my brand. So maybe other people laughed at those attempts. It didn't do it for me. I'm sorry. And the main character spends her entire time, the entirety of this book, she's just running around Hollywood, going to parties with people she don't know, maybe don't like, and talking shit and doing dumb stuff. Like, you broke into a Hollywood exec's house looking for stuff about your book, used drugs that you found in his house, fell asleep naked in his bed. Like, girl, what are we doing? You a grown ass woman. Like, what are we doing here, ma'am? Also, this is the type of book where there's, like, as you know, there's a book within a book. We get, you know, excerpts from that book. We follow along with the storyline of the book. That was the most interesting part at first. That was the most interesting part. I was like, oh, the fake book is better than the real book. Like, let's keep it there. Let's stay there. Let's follow along with that. Then that shit started getting crazy, and I couldn't follow along with that. I was just like, you know what, I was like, you know what, just end the whole thing. Just end the whole thing. Just put me out of my misery. I was going to DNF it, because y'all know how I feel about DNFing. But I was like, you know what? I said I was going to read it. I purchased it already. Let's just try to get through this. I should have DNF'd it. I should have DNF'd this, because the end of this book, I was like, what the fuck was this? You put me through all of that. Then the end of this, what the fuck kind of ending is this? It was all so dumb to me. Wish I would have never read this book. There's a segue that introduces us to the character Derek. Blew my mind, because it just came out of nowhere. It's like we was talking about chips, and then she's like, oh, Derek, like, what, bitch, we were just talking about chips, and now we're talking about Derek. What the fuck do Derek got to do with these Frito-Lays? I'm confused right now. What's going on? Penelope's dad being a bigot. I was in chapter 19 and said, when does the book actually start? The synopsis really sold me, but it was just basically about a broke English teacher who wrote a book, goes to Hollywood, runs around town doing dumb shit. The book cover is the best thing about this. That's the best thing about this. Like, it started off with a little bit of promise with the whole book within a book, that storyline. I was like, okay, this is the only saving grace right now. But then everything went to shit, and I was just like, get me out of here. Immediately. Immediately. Get me out of here. And that was it. That's what I read over the last week. Oh, I also DNF'd All Chain Gang Stars. It's just like a soft DNF. I'll talk about that another time. Because I think I'm gonna go back to that book. But that's another book. Things starting off kind of rocking there. They just popped in my head, and I feel like that. I just felt I should say that. I don't know why. It just came out. But I'll talk about that book in a different video. I just started that, and I'm trying. But it's real rough at the beginning. Everything is everywhere. Everything everywhere all at once with that book. I'm gonna talk about it anyway. It's a book about gladiators in the prison fighting for their freedom, basically. It is in like a dystopian, not so far future. And it talks about, you know, the imprisonment system and how it's bad, and incarceration rates and race and politics, all of those things. Great synopsis. I'm all here for it, but it is broken up, and we get a different point of view. Like, every chapter we switch to a new character. That's confusing the hell out of me. I think it's gonna be a DNF. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it through that one. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have for you in this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you are not subscribed. What are you waiting for? And that's it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.